were expecting Curtis about the time that we were transferred from Beaver to Kalispell, Montana. When we received the call, we were excited. We wanted to go somewhere. We wanted to go outside the state if possible. We received the call and he said Kalispell, Montana. And most people wouldn't know where Kalispell, Montana is, but my dad had sold books up there and had been to Flathead Lake and all of the beautiful area. And he was so glowing in his reports of Flathead Lake, Flathead Valley, that we were excited when we got that assignment. So we prepared, and the church moved us, which means that you don't have to do very much. You pack it, and they actually, everything was packed, but they came and packed all the glassware. They took it all, they stored it for the summer, and then we went up and Dennis went to school while we waited and stayed with Mother and Dad.
Our third child was also an August baby, Curtis Dwayne Sampson. Again, I'm in summer school. I'm going to doing my graduate work there. And I told Carolyn the baby was due in August sometime. I said, if you can hold on to August 28th, I'll put this in Ripley's Believe It or Not. She didn't think that was very funny. August at BYU in the dorms, it was hotter than a baker's oven, was not a very fun time to be pregnant. She wanted that baby born. Well, he didn't come along, and I get out of school and it's time to go to Montana. The problem at the time was the airlines was on strike. I've forgotten the name of the airlines, but there was no flight into Kalispell. The closest we could get was Missoula, and she could not drive in our Volkswagen up from Provo to Kalispell.
So then it was time to go to Montana. I was really very pregnant and couldn't see riding in a car. And so we were going to fly up there. But things were so different then, and there was a strike, an airline strike. So we got all ready to go. Mother and Jeff and me and Kyle and Shannon, we were all ready to go, suitcases loaded, went to the airport to get our tickets, which is where you bought tickets then. And the plane was full. We couldn't get on. There wasn't even standby. I remember a military guy standing there at the desk crying because they wouldn't let him on the plane to go to a funeral, his mother's funeral. So we said, okay. We turned around and got back in the car and went down to Grandma Otley's house, which is in Salt Lake, and she fed us lunch. And I hadn't been able to tell her goodbye, and so I was so glad that this happened. We got to go see her and say goodbye. Then we came to Provo and left the suitcases packed, left everything ready. So we were really ready the next day. We weren't rushed or anything. We had tickets for the next day. And we got on a flight that stopped maybe 4 or 5 times, which was terrible. West Yellowstone and I don't know where all. But Dad picked us up in his Cadillac. He had a big orange Cadillac in Missoula. And of course, I'd never been up there before. And the ride was smooth. He had an air conditioner and it was beautiful country. And we went up to Kalispell. All of our stuff had been delivered to this dumpy, old, ugly house, but it was all there was available. The state president found it for us. So we were glad to have it.
So we got an airline ticket from Salt Lake City to Missoula, and the plane flew from Salt Lake to Idaho Falls. Then I think it landed. Then it flew over to West Yellowstone. Then I think it flew up to Billings, and then from there maybe Helena, and finally it made it to Missoula. In Missoula, Grandpa Dastrup decided that he would meet us there, or meet Grandma and Carolyn there. I was with Grandpa in Montana, so we drove down in his Cadillac, which made it pleasant enough for her to ride in, and we drove from Missoula to Kalispell, which is 125 miles straight north of Missoula. We lived in Kalispell maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most. And on August 19th, 1972, Curtis was born in the Kalispell Hospital.
We were there 2 weeks and Curtis was born. And Curtis was born in the middle of the night, and it was a good birth, nothing crazy about the birth. The hospital stay was awful, totally awful. I was in with some bar stool type ladies. It was just awful. In fact, I'll tell you the story that this one lady went to the bathroom and dropped her cigarettes in the toilet. So she got them, fished them out of the toilet, and put them out on the tray table where you eat your dinner so they could dry so that she could smoke it later. It was awful. I hated it.
Again, I don't remember anything that was too dramatic other than just getting there and having him born.
He was born 2 weeks after we got to Kalispell, so there was no time to ask around for a good doctor. We just kind of went through the phone book and chose one. His name was Oscar Swinson, and I was not impressed. When I went to the hospital and got ready to deliver, they couldn't get him on the phone. Well, come to find out, they had talked to him and said, she's ready to deliver, come right now. And he said, I'm going to dinner at the hacienda. Call me at the hacienda. And they said, well, she's about to deliver. And he said, call me at the hacienda, and hung up. Well, they tried to call at the hacienda, and the line was busy, and the line was busy, and the line was busy. So Curtis was actually delivered by the nurse. And I remember talking to her after and said, you actually delivered him. So I think that the delivery fee should go to you. And she said, oh, don't tell him that. I would be in big trouble. He's kind of a snooty guy. Right after Curtis was born, I looked for another doctor, and that's when we got Dr. Vranish, and I liked him a lot.
I might say, though, that as we go through these videos and I explain a little bit about each child, I don't want anybody's feelings hurt because it's easy to remember the first child, but they kind of start to blend together as you go along. So by the time we get to Jack, I don't know if I can even remember what it was about when she was born. But when I get done with these 8, then Grandma's going to tell the same story. And my fear is her story is going to be quite a bit different than mine. Nevertheless, that's our story. And at this point in time, we have 3 children, Kyle, Shannon, and Curtis, all born in August.
Got home and it was wonderful. We had cute little baby, but he was a crier too. He cried for 6 weeks and had a hard time, and it was just kind of hard. It really was to get past that 6 weeks, and then he settled down. He was okay. Curtis just settled in and was really cute and was really loving, and everything went well with him.